My name is Matt Domyancic. I'm a medically retired police officer. I worked patrol, peer support, SWAT, and full-time academy instructor for fitness and officer survival. The whole time I was a cop, I was also a college strength and conditioning coach, first at Yale, then at Georgetown, where I also did campus ministry. I was living my dream as a cop and a coach. And then I had a bunch of medical issues that ultimately led to a forced medical retirement and doctors that over medicated me on antibiotics, opiates, benzos, muscle relaxers, sleep medications, anxiety, depression medications. And I was a train wreck from medications that almost killed me. I was sick and in chronic pain from internal infections, internal bleeding. And I was depressed because it was way too soon to like put my swords and my six shooters down. I didn't want to stop being a warrior. So I ended up moving to Southern California for functional and integrative medicine. And through the years before I got to go to Warriors Ascent, on my own, I had to piecemeal finding a good therapist, finding a yoga studio, because these are things I had always done and believed in, and nutrition and exercise and meditation. And I did neurofeedback and I did deep tissue massage and acupuncture. I went on men's retreats, Buddhist meditation retreats, Christian meditation and centering prayer retreats, Native American vision quest. I made it a point to go on hunting trips with my dad in the wilderness, which is very healing. But I had to do all of this stuff on my own. And first of all, battle to get things paid for, to find people that didn't hate cops or veterans. Because to be honest, a lot of people in the yoga and even the Christian community and the mindfulness or Buddhist community tend to be of a political ideology that is not always favorable or open-minded to police and military. But I got along with them and I made it work. But I was not in a community as I was doing all these healing modalities on my own. And also in my retirement, I got 2 additional master's degrees, one in sports psychology under Dr. Ken Ravizza, who is one of the grandfathers of sports psychology. That gave me an opportunity to learn great things about self-discovery and human performance, but utilize it to work on my own crap and also take advantage of the professors. Then I got a master's in pastoral theology with a concentration in spiritual direction, which is spirituality, the contemplative or mystical spiritual practices like forms of meditation, pastoral care, and analytical psychology. Again, I used those experiences to work on myself in this, the hero's journey. If you go on the retreat, you will learn about the hero's journey, but to go through the liminal space and the suffering and to find allies and mentors, I did all of this on my own. So what brought me to Warriors Ascent was after I went through years of working hard on my own to get these different things piecemeal, I discovered Warriors Ascent and was like, oh my God, they're doing all these things I believe in. And I'd love to go, but I was not in crisis. So I made sure that there was a slot available that I was not taking from someone in crisis. And what Warriors Ascent allowed me to see was this doesn't work just in my life on my own. How powerful is this in a 5-day retreat when it's cops and firemen and veterans together that understand each other in a community? And these are subcultures, right? Each one of these. But we have so much in common, first responders and veterans. And then you don't have to worry about the stigma do these people not understand what I've been through because everybody else here has seen similar things? And do they not like me? My God, it's even worse now politically, at least for a police officer. I can't imagine now doing some of the things I did because the hate cop stuff's even worse. So to be in a community of warriors and healers and rescuers and do all of these things collectively in one package was so affirming to see how it changed everyone else's life and to see a bunch of other hard-ass macho guys. I've never had a problem buying into this because I've always been a self-care guy and a holistic guy and wanting to influence other alpha males and females in these professions to be open to this stuff. But to see it happen during the week, like, oh, hey, guys, we're going to do art. We're going to journal. We're going to talk to a psychologist. We're going to do a prayer labyrinth. We're going to do yoga. And initially you can see the guys, like the first day, not wanting to let their walls down and be vulnerable. But when they do, you start seeing the healing and the buy-in. And then you hear from these people weeks and months later how their life has changed because they dropped the bullshit about the macho facade that, hey man, when you're a warrior or you're a rescuer like a fireman, you shouldn't do yoga or meditation or journal or art or spend quiet time in nature because that's for PUSSYs and that's for wimps. And I don't want anybody to think I'm broken if I talk to a therapist or do small group sharing. To see all that stigma fade away and to see the healing that takes place is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So coming to Warriors Ascent for me was an affirmation of things I believe in, and to get to see those things help and heal other people, start their hero's journey and their healing process, which is work and takes time. So don't anybody think I'm going to come to a 5-day retreat and it's going to resolve everything. It is just a start to give you the tools and a community of people, mentors, as well as peers to keep in touch with along your journey. And since then, and the last few years, I have been a police and fire chaplain and also doing wellness and peer support stuff, shooting with veterans, talking to them about self-care. I've been the chaplain for a PTSD and substance abuse facility that's only for cops and firemen. So I have heard these stories hundreds of times, over and over. I didn't want to tell anybody that I was struggling with those calls, or I was struggling with this stress, or I was struggling with alcohol or drugs or gambling or a sex addiction, because I didn't want to have a fit for duty. I didn't want to lose my gun. I didn't want to not have a chance to get promoted. I didn't want anybody to think I was a wimp. There's the same things I hear from veterans, cops, and firemen after they have full-blown addictions and PTSD and suicidal ideation is, I didn't want to tell anybody because I felt like I was the only one. But I hope that, I wish I could convince everybody that's bullshit, because if you're a human being and you go to combat, you're going to see things that are not normal. And the normal reaction for what you see is to have unwanted thoughts and feelings or a broken heart to some degree. It doesn't mean it's going to break you, but you shouldn't deny the feelings from what you see either in combat or on the streets as a cop and a fireman. I have not met a cop or a fireman that somewhere along the line hasn't shared a story of some kind of call, whether it's a suicide, a dead kid, or something else that did break their heart, but they don't want to tell somebody. Man, if you're a human being, you're going to see things as a cop and a fireman or a veteran that are going to break your heart. You can stuff it, you can numb, you can distract yourself, but unconsciously your body and your brain knows what's going on, and you're storing stress and trauma. And if you don't learn how to process and manage and release that stuff, it may, I'm not saying it will, but it may chew you up inside. And we have enough brothers and sisters in the first responder professions and in the military that end up with addictions, divorce, mental health issues, suicidal ideation, or unfortunately suicide, a lot because we, first of all, are never given the tools to deal with them. And then in this situation, you can go to Warriors Ascent and get so many of these tools, but you're going to have to drop the macho facade. And it gives you a good environment to do that because you're only with other cops, firemen, and veterans. So after leaving Warriors Ascent, I continued to do many of the things I was doing before that. I went there, then it just affirmed to me. Like, I kept up my yoga. I'm big into journaling, spiritual reading, as well as reading to make me more culturally competent in the first responder and veteran community for the work I do now, even though I'm not kicking in doors anymore, locking up bad guys. Contemplative prayer. I would call myself a contemplative Christian. So you do get exposed to the prayer labyrinth there. You do not have to be a Christian to benefit from it, but to learn about contemplative practices, mindfulness, spending time in nature and silence. Such a good reminder on that retreat for me, because I live in Los Angeles. So I have to make the effort now, because I know how restorative that stuff is, to find little, mini vacations to go do those things. I wish I could do more art. I had a great time there with the art professor. Those are things I'm not good at, but I really enjoyed it. Continue to learn about the hero's journey. Continue to learn about archetypes, which I got to in grad school, but I still like getting books on analytical depth psychology and spirituality that tie into the hero's journey. So to continue learning and reflecting on my life based on the lessons that you will get at Warriors Ascent. And also the community piece. Like, some people may not know, the number one factor in our life for longevity is community. You can eat right, exercise, meditate, quality sleep. These are all important things. but the person that, you know, is isolated and stays healthy that way versus the person that has, you know, people that he or she gets coffee with every morning. They're in a archery club, they're in different social events, and they have a really significant, meaningful relationships. They're going to live longer. And so what's harder for me in retirement, at least, and for some people that go to Warriors Ascent, if they're going to be medically retired cops or firemen or guys and gals that are out of the military, you need to find community. So it's a good reminder that having a community of people that can understand some of the things you've been through is super important. And then on the flip, unfortunately, COVID took away a lot of contemplative prayer practice groups like Taze and Centering Prayer got shut down because I'm in Los Angeles. Yoga studios, martial arts got shut down. The gyms got shut down, but thank God at the time I had a sports performance facility that snuck in pro athletes, so I kept getting to work out. Healthy eating, which Mike is big on healthy eating, and that is a difference. I've been on so many retreats in my life, and most of the time you get a bunch of junk food. Mike provided super healthy food, and people should understand that our gut health relates to our mood because most of our neurotransmitters are made in our gut. So if you're eating crappy, you can increase anxiety and depression. So the healthy eating portion there for me is it's been important my whole life, but again, it's a good reminder. Your gut is also tied into your immune system. So that's another unique thing about Warriors Ascent is we got super healthy food, and some guys bitched and moaned and complained. But my God, if you do take 5 days to try to cut out the junk and increase eating healthy food, you will feel a difference. And even just a little changes of maybe cutting out some soda or cutting back on the tobacco and definitely alcohol, things like that can make a huge difference in your life after you leave. But the good thing is you get a supportive community to stay in touch with and for encouragement. So yeah, I can't say enough about these types of retreats, and that's why when I'm on podcasts, I mention them. And I, as I've told Mike, I would love, because man, if you are dealing with PTSD, suicidal ideation, or substance abuse issues, and you go to Warriors Ascent, and we've seen people turn their lives around, what about the cops and the firemen who haven't reached that point yet, but are seeing stuff and their misery cups getting filled up and they don't know how to dump it out and process it? My God, I would love if there was more room and maybe more funding and availability to have cops and firemen go to Warriors Ascent before they're at a breaking point. That would be something I would suggest if they do have slots for you. And I would really hope that people can get over the stigma of you're a PUSSY or broken or weak if you apply and go to a retreat like Warriors Ascent, because you're not. And there's many thousands of first responders and veterans out there that have refused getting themselves the help they need, the healing they need, because of this macho bullcrap. But there's a few quotes that I like to use, and they do use one there now that, you know, me and Mike were catching up, and that is, self-care is not selfish. You cannot give somebody else a drink of water if you allow your well to go dry. So you need to keep your well filled, and whatever that means in so many different ways, and you'll learn about it at Warriors Ascent. Keep your well filled. Also, what happens sometimes, especially with men, is they learn something about these are things you need to do to be healthy and to grow, and they skip doing their own work and then want to run out and mentor and tell other people how to grow, and they neglect dealing with their own stuff. So I say work on your own shit first. Stop running around trying to fix or give unsolicited advice to other people. Learn the tools you'll get at Warriors Ascent and dig deep in your own life, implementing them. Famous spirituality author Richard Rohr says, pain that is not transformed is transmitted. Pain that is not transformed is transmitted. And if you've been in the military, a police officer or a fireman, you've seen a lot of pain and suffering and been immersed in the misery of other people. And if you don't learn how to deal with that, you are going to unconsciously transmit it back out to the community and at home. And this happens all the time. So figure out how to transform that pain. And again, a place like Warriors Ascent is going to give you tools for that. If you do not heal what hurt you, you will bleed on people that did not cut you. We all do this. We all do this. And the only way we can, get ourselves grounded is do a lot of work. Getting in shape, if you're out of shape or coming off an injury, is a lot of effort in the gym, and with your nutrition. And the same is with our interior lives. So this is a lot of work. There are no magic pills or miracles. But you go to Warriors Ascent for 5 days, you're going to get the tools that if you go back home and just take some of them, it's not like you have to take all of them, figure out what isn't, go home and start, chipping away and working at these things little by little.